When you look at this expense tracker, there's nothing fancy going on. It's very simple, it's very easy to use, but it can be really helpful when you are just taking a look at your financial habits, but also if you are creating a budget, a monthly budget. A lot of people are not aware of how they're spending their money, and that's simply because they're not tracking their spending. And if you're trying to create a budget, it can be difficult to come up with what to budget for a specific line item. So you're like, hey, I have no clue how much I'm actually spending on groceries or food out or on health and wellness. How do I even start to guess what that would be? What should I budget for the month? Well, that's exactly where this tracker comes in. And you actually can use this to either track your spending historically, so the last 1 month, the last 2 months, or the last 3 months of every single dollar that you spent. Or you can use this going forward to see where your money is actually going, every single dollar that you spent, so you can make a budget in the future. I do recommend looking at things historically so that you can create your budget as soon as possible. So on this first tab called Expenses, you'll see in the corner how many months of tracking. And you can select 1, 2, or 3, and this is going to control the calculation for your chart. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But this is important to select how many months you're actually going to be tracking. If you want to do 1, that is fine, and you would just look at 1 month of spending. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to say it will be 3 months of spending. And you'll see across the row a number of spending areas. This would be like your expenses. And I know that not everybody's is the same, but I feel like I put in a pretty good variety here. You could change these if you wanted to, or you could add on more, but you would have to adjust the chart. So I suggest just changing things around. Like if you don't have fees in your life, then you could change this to whatever category you need to track. Or if you don't have pets, you can, just leave it blank if you don't fit into any of these spending categories. But beneath all of these expenses are a bunch of rows for you to fill in your spending. And this literally goes down. I'm scrolling. I know you can't tell, but we're getting down to the bottom. And down here is where the totals are adding up. So anything down here you really won't want to mess with. So we'll scroll back up. And you're just going to start tracking your spending for the last 3 months. And let's say you put your mortgage and rent in, you're paying $1,400 a month. So that's all that would go there, right? And then your groceries, you're literally going to log every single grocery trip that you've taken over the last 3 months. So it could be 45, 65, 70, 35, 67. I'm just going to go crazy here, basically. You get the idea. You would literally list every single grocery trip. Utilities, you could add, your electricity, your water, your Wi-Fi, just anything that you are considering your utilities. Food out, every single food out purchase. It could be $1.45 on a quick little pastry. You got a coffee for $6. You paid $45 for a dinner for you and someone else. So you just keep going, right? And same thing for everything else. Like you got a massage, you got, you went to therapy, just another massage, shopping, all of your shopping for the month. And you get the idea. You're just going to literally list all of your expenses based off of these categories. And what's happening in the background on these charts is everything is being added up and an average is being taken so you can see what would be appropriate for your budget. This chart on the left is actually going to be adding up everything. So it's just a total of your spending by category. And obviously you can see that in the title. And then this one on the right is going to be your average spend in each category. So since you paid your mortgage of $1,400 each month for 3 months, obviously the average is $1,400. And then you'll see for everything on that other sheet, it's going to be accounted for here. If it had a value, it will be taking the average of those values. I didn't put in enough data for this to be anywhere near accurate, but let's say that spending was actually true. I can say, okay, so my utilities on average are about $75. So for my budget, I could put $75 for utilities. And then for groceries, I see, okay, on average in the last 3 months, I spent $205 per month. So maybe I should be good at $215 for budgeting for groceries, and so on and so forth. So yeah, overall, this is a great way for you to get started with creating a budget and have actual accurate numbers for each category. But if you're not used to tracking, or if you've never tracked before and you have no clue how you're spending your money, this is also a good visual for that. And you can be like, wow, I am spending way too much on subscriptions or way too much on food out. I really think I could cut back on fun and entertainment, or whoa, my utilities are pretty high, maybe there's a problem there. So you could see where your problem areas are, where you're spending too much money, or maybe you're seeing areas that you're not spending enough and you want to increase those. Like I said, I do think it's best to track 3 months of spending historically, just because the more data, the better. But even if you just do this for 1 month of spending, you'll be able to capture a pretty good picture of your spending habits.